welcome to Honest Car Reviews. So my name is Eric and this is the Volkswagen Touareg R. I've reviewed the Touareg R before, but since it has gone more than 1 year and there have been plenty of competition that has surfaced, I think it's a good idea to do a thorough review of this car again, because I have tested this car on a major road trip. Explore all the nooks and crannies of this Touareg R to see if it's actually something that you should consider if you want a big, more luxurious, more powerful hybrid SUV. And we'll start with the price. This particular example costs over 100,000 euros. The regular Touareg without the R and without the hybrid power plant costs from 75,000 euros. The Touareg R in of itself costs from 90 to 95,000 euros. It needs to bring a lot to the table. But personally, I think that the Touareg R might do just that. Continuing on with the specs, it has about 15 kilowatt hours of battery. In pure EV will get you about 40 to 50 kilometers. A V6, which in of itself produces 340 horsepower, and combined with the electric engine, 462 horsepower and 700 newton meters of torque. 0 to 100 kilometers an hour is done in 5.1 seconds. That is mighty impressive for a car of this size. Fuel consumption, well, it is interesting to look at a hybrid, because with a hybrid you often get a fairly low claimed consumption, and it's the same here. I was able to get this to about 0.9 liters per 10 kilometer. It's a big car with a fairly thirsty engine, so that is what you expect. So I'll talk about the exterior, and that is one of the key aspects of the Touareg R that I think that Volkswagen has absolutely nailed down. A bit aggressive, really lovely lights here. They look aggressive, but not too much. You have a lower part here that is similar in a lot of R or Volkswagen R models. Not too much. This extra option blue paint, it is not the lapis blue paint, it is a bit darker, a bit more life to it actually, depending on how the light shines at it. The rear, as I talked about before, very Audi in a good way, and the rear complements the front really nicely. The tires 285 both front and rear, and here in the extra option 22-inch rims. The standard are 21-inch, but you can see just how massive the wheel arches are. So if you want some more presence, go for the 22s. If you want some more comfort, I would go for the 21s. Since it is an SUV, they haven't really been forced to intrude on the rear luggage, so that means that there's hardly any hump here from the batteries. Just a tiny one. And let's see what's underneath here. The base and some tire reparation kit. Quite spacious, but you can also see the angle of the sides here. It does eat up a lot of storage. Since it is the biggest Volkswagen to date, it is basically the size of an Audi Q7, which means that you have a lot of space. And yeah, quite impressive. A lot of knee room and especially a lot of foot space. You have a fairly large bench as well, which is a positive thing for me that's quite tall. I have quite a good amount of lower thigh support. Double glazed windows, so it's fairly quiet in here. You have the option out blinds, and you have the extra option panoramic sunroof as well. 4-zone climate control, and the option 230 volt electrical outlet, so you can actually use your computer and charge it directly and have the same power that you have at home. This car is spec'd with the extra optioned sound package. Great bass, punchy but not too punchy, also a bit softness to it, great power to it, just all around a good system. And I forgot to mention that this car comes with, let's see if I can do it, soft close. So this car has every single detail, gizmo, tech, gadget, whatever you want to call it, to be in the top luxury segment of cars. The car comes with air suspension, but in the driver's seat you have dedicated controls for that as well. So you have off-road setting, so you want to be as high up as possible, off-road plus, but it can also be in trailer towing mode, so the car lowers itself really far down and is really noticeable. But the standard driving position is here. You have a dedicated control for your driving mode: Eco, Comfort, Normal, Sport, Individual, Off-road with 22-inch rims, I don't think so, and Snow. The car comes with 4-wheel drive, 40 in the front, 6 in the rear. In general, the interior, even though there's a lot of angles and so on, I think it's a nice place to be. You have a digital gauge cluster, you have some nice material here, you have air vents that goes together well with the general interior design. What I don't like is, of course, the steering wheel controls, haptic, and yeah, you get used to them, but the response from them and the haptic touch, yeah, not my favorite at all. I would much rather go back to buttons, basically. Not that much storage area. You have the 2 cup holders and you have a small storage area here with the spec'd out wireless charging, cup holder, and a bit more storage area, but that's about it. Of course you have this one, but with the controls for the driving modes, the ride height, and this big gear shift selector and the parking and so on, takes up a lot of space. Even though this car has an amazing active cruise control with lane assist and so on, which I personally think should be the standard for how active cruise control should work. It's extremely sensitive to how I hold my hands, and if I don't hold my hands at almost exactly the 9:15 position, it will still complain. So if I hold like this, and since it has such a good cruise control, I hardly have to move my hands, it will complain. And especially on long journeys, extremely annoying. What surprised me the most when I picked up the car was the power plant and the gearbox. This V6 is amazing, and the way that the electric engine fills in all the torque gaps is just amazing. It feels almost literally like an EV power plant. It's that good. It's not a highly strong V6, a lot of torque. So if you are looking for a really aggressive sounding V6 and a involving driving experience, both when you are on it but also when you drive it day to day, this is not the car for you. On the opposite, Volkswagen has really fine-tuned this to be a great cruiser, a great luxury car. In terms of the interior and the general driving experience, I do not have that much to complain about. Yeah, I do have some road noise, but it's fairly minimal for the width of the tires. Do I need that wide tires for day-to-day driving? Absolutely not. I would be more than happy with 255s, 265s. And the power delivery, the torque, and how smooth it is and never loses umph. Absorbs the bumps really well. The car stays fairly flat and fairly well balanced. Not the most amount of front bite, but enough to make it at least seemingly rewarding. And then the power out from the corners, it's wow. Let's put it into sport, the most aggressive setting. There's no launch control in this car, so just hold up the revs a bit. And that's 60 or 100 kilometers an hour, depending on who you're talking to. Undramatic, but not in a bad way. Do have some bite, and I think that's thanks to those just massive tires to give some real bite. And do have some nice change in direction. I like the suspension also, it's not too stiff. Does what it needs to do. Of course it's a heavy car, but when you compare it with an EV that weighs about the same, this has a completely different suspension stiffness setup and just feels more natural to drive. Tuck it in here. The front just bites very nicely. Brakes are big, strong, not out of its element. On the opposite, feels fairly well behaved. Feels like a big car, of course. But the initial bite, the turn in, nice enough confidence, soft enough and enough body roll to not be overly stiff. Gearbox not the fastest at shifting, feels more towards being soft, caressing in the gears. So we've concluded that this is not the most dynamic sporty SUV out there, but it doesn't need to be, and it doesn't try to be either. Yeah, it does have the R name, and that is the question I have for Volkswagen. Does the Touareg actually need an R model? Yeah, you have the R segment for every other sporty Volkswagen, but I think that the e-hybrid Touareg can stand on its own 2 feet, and it should. It's fast enough, quiet enough, luxurious enough. It has all the aspects of being a luxury car, and it can fight with whatever is out there on the market. The range, not the best, but the looks, if you can look aside from the front being a Volkswagen logo, it's up there with anything luxurious, a big size SUV out there. So I would seriously consider this if you want a luxurious SUV. And that's my final conclusion for the Volkswagen Touareg R. See you next time.